Hey, what's happening? This is your host Tinto, and before we get started on this weekend's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to the people that gave coffees this week, starting with you, Nanjala. Your comment there is, I recently discovered this podcast through a friend. As a Kenyan woman, it was hard to hear Kanye's story, but surprised to see the similarities in how intimate partner violence plays out across different cultures. Thankful for the bonus episode because I needed it. I love to support creators of African descent, and I was wondering if you have an option for recurring payments. Oh, your podcast has earned it. Nanjala, thank you so much. Recurring payments, yes, that could be done via patron, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm kind of weaving my way around that. But in the meantime, the coffees are good, Yana. But thank you so much. And what I really love is the fact that you're from Kenya. And I have noticed a growth in engagement from Kenya. So your friend who has told you is doing a great thing. Please thank them on my behalf. And please continue to share the great news out there. And then secondly, I have coffees from... Right, just stop the music. Today, Bogus, I genuinely don't know how to thank you, because not only did you give me 10 coffees at the beginning of the week, you added another 20 coffees, given a total of 30 coffees in addition to the regular ones that you've given me from the beginning of the podcast. Honestly, all I can say, today, Bogus, is may God bless you and may continue to add to wherever this is coming from, because you're a real blessing to the podcast. If you guys would like to do the same, please head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/feeling station and give as your spirit leads. Remember, and always remember this, there is nothing too small to support the podcast that you've grown to love. With that out of the way, I need to give you a heads up, like for real, seriously. If you do not have a pen and paper or a whiteboard and a whiteboard marker, this episode is going to be complex for you to follow. So please grab those, try and map it out as it goes. Okay, say no more, Tinto. Here's this weekend's episode. Have fun.
We used to be best friends, used to do good things together. Oh no, but no more. It's just a distant memory. My homie, buddy, cousin, it all just fell apart. I'm sorry.
Nah, I'm not sorry.
It's just a distant memory, yeah. My said, who's bestie? Come on. My said, who's bestie? Come on.
I am back in the city that I thought I ran away from. I won't say which one. And I must say, I'm not sure how I feel about being here. But seeing you makes me happy.
Oh, thank you.
As usual.
I love seeing you too.
I hope I get to see you a few more times this year. COVID rules have been relaxed, so we don't have an excuse, right?
Well, there was never really an excuse. Was there?
Yeah, Boris once upon a time told us not to muck about, even though he was out having parties and we were stuck indoors.
Well,
but
true.
that's a conversation for another day, because we're just going to get crazy up in here.
Will.
Welcome to the Feeling Station.
Thank you for having me.
For those who are listening to this podcast for the first time, it touches on friendship, family, and romantic breakups that people go through with a view to give you lessons as the listener from my guest experience. And part of the reason why the podcast is doing great is I do my best to keep you anonymous. So I didn't give you a heads up on this. I'm putting you on the spot right now.
Right.
You need to think of a name that you're going to call the person you're talking about. And this person, I believe, is your dad.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what name would you like to give him? Don't give him his real name. Give him a fake name that's suitable to what you're going to talk about.
Let's just call him John.
John.
Yeah.
That's the best name you could come up with.
Well, like, he has many names as it is, so it's, let's just go with a simple one.
Okay.
Simplicity is best, isn't it? And
right.
John.
So we're going with John. And the second reason why the podcast is doing great is there are real life lessons that people learn from the story that you can share with me. Mm-hmm. So based on how things stand with your dad, what would you like people to take away from this conversation?
To take away that, if you're in a toxic family, it's okay to remove yourself. You don't need to stay in it for the fact that you was born into it.
Ooh. That
You don't
that's
need to
deep.
you don't need to deal with that pressure. A lot of people staying in these toxic families because they feel that they're, stuck to it by ball and chain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, we have to stay in it.
So you're basically saying just because you got blood running through you, you don't have to stick
You
around.
don't have to.
Because that wasn't of your choice, right?
They've never dealt with you like family. They haven't treated you like how you feel family should treat you. You've met people who aren't blood who treat you better than family.
Mm-hmm.
And they become family. So blood doesn't have anything to do with it, I don't feel. And that's just from personal experience.
So for you, blood is not really thicker than water, is it?
No.
Okay. Do you have another lesson, or you want to keep that as the primary lesson?
We'll keep that at that for now.
Okay, cool. So what normally happens is there are other lessons that might come out. If they come out, great. If they don't, this already is good enough, right? So the story that we're going to hear today is about John. And the name that I have chosen to give you, because I need to keep you anonymous.
Okay, what do I have?
I'm giving you a name from Southern Africa.
Yes.
And the name that you have is Shamiso.
Shamiso.
Yeah, I hope you can remember that. Shamiso. Shamiso. And what Shamiso means is miracle.
Oh.
Something that just makes people stand in awe. They're like, wow, this is amazing. This is miraculous.
Did you really think about it hard about that?
I didn't really need to think too hard about it because my sister is called Shamiso anyway, right?
Okay.
So it was a bit of a cop-out, an easy one.
Okay.
All right, so this story really is about Shamiso and John. If you want to shorten it, you could shorten it to something like Shami if you wanted. That's entirely up to you. Right?
Okay.
You just need to remember that name.
Okay.
If you slip up and you don't remember either John or Shamiso's name, don't worry, I'll edit it out. But don't give me the work of editing, please.
Okay, but I'm not really gonna say my own name though, am I?
I don't know. You never know. Hiccups already before we even got started.
People are gonna know who I am now.
Right. So let's jump straight into it. What's the situation with your dad, John? Are you guys cool? Are you not cool?
We are not cool.
On what level? So 1 being kind of cool. 10, we don't fucks with each other.
10 don't fucks with each other.
Jeez.
Don't talk to him at all. I've moved. He has no address. Doesn't know where I am. Changed my name. I don't want anything to do.
What do you mean change your name?
Changed my family surname.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
So have you kept your first name?
No, I changed my first name for business reasons, but I don't have an issue with my first name. But my surname, the family name, linking it to John, linking it to other members of the family of the same name was causing me a lot of problems. So I changed it. And ever since I've changed it, it has actually made a big difference.
So let's take this back. Is this by any chance associated with your upbringing? But where do you feel your issues with your dad really start?
I think it starts with his upbringing, to be fair. He was born in the Caribbean. I can say the country. He was born in Jamaica.
Okay.
And my grandparents came over to the UK with my uncle and my dad. But my uncle and my dad, they was about 17, 18 or 16, 17 or something like that. And my grandparents decided they don't like it in England, and they decided they're going to go and emigrate over to America. But my dad and my uncle stayed. They already made a life over here, so they stayed here. Grandparents went over to America, and then they had more kids. And so I've got my Jamaican family in America, and then it's only my dad and his brother that's over here that have had kids. With him being here on his own, I think I had a great grandma that was over here who was raising him. And my uncle, he never had any parents raising him. They was in America. They doted on my uncles and aunties in America more than they've doted on my dad and my uncle over here. So he's grown up missing a lot, and that's reflected back to now how he's had kids. But then at the same time, I can see that as a reason, but I see that also as an excuse because my uncle's gone through the same thing, but his life hasn't gone the same way.
It's totally different, yeah.
Yeah. So personal choice and accountability comes into it of every individual when it comes into certain situations that multiple people have gone through in a family.
So your dad came over, he's in the UK. You were born in a certain year to a family how big? How many are you as kids?
Me, I'm an only child.
Oh, you're an only child?
Yeah, just me and my mum and my dad. My mum and my dad were married. My dad had other kids before he married my mum. So what I've learned now as an adult is what I didn't know when I was younger. My dad had a woman, had my older brother, 2 older brothers, and he was with that woman for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He was dating my mum,
Mm-hmm.
met my mum, had a baby with my mum, and then married my mum. And just left the woman.
Wait a minute. So was your dad cheating on your mum? Well,
Exactly. And then when he was with my mum, he's had another baby with that first woman. And another baby with another woman.
Yo.
And another baby that was born the same year as me.
Mad. I'm only laughing because I'm trying to keep track.
Right, but my uncle...
And I'm losing track real quick.
Yeah, but my uncle married one woman and had the kids with him. Sorry, with her. So it's personal accountability, your choices that you make. Obviously, my dad's had personal life experiences different from my uncle that I don't know about, but the family situation, how you should be creating families. My dad was a dog. Because when I was growing up with my mum and my dad.
Oh, okay, ease up a little bit. I mean, that's a bit harsh, to say of somebody that gave you life.
Listen,
to say
as
that
a woman, I'm the girl child. My dad had 2 boys. He had 3 boys. 2 that woman he was with and another son. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he had 3 boys before he had me. I'm the first girl child.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he clicked his brain into gear for a girl child because now I'm a woman. So when I look back at the reflections and stuff, things that I saw growing up that I didn't really see, I see my dad, he's a dog to women. He's a dog to women. He was with a woman, disappeared and married another woman.
Yeah.
Had children, went back, had another baby with her, then had a baby over here. Now, I'm growing up with my mum and dad married. Obviously, I'm seeing a different view than what's really going on because I've learned a lot as I've grown up. So I've grown up with a mum and a dad and I was a daddy's girl.
So are your parents still married? Your mum and dad, are they married today?
Divorced.
How long have they been divorced?
They got divorced when I was about 12.
Okay.
And even that's a story in itself. Like, God, I don't know where to start. It's such a... Before all the marriage stuff, like I was saying, so my dad was over here, and he married my mum, left the other woman, then went back to the other woman. But even before that, started from... Wait.
Okay.
Started from granddad now. Because granddad and grandma had left 2 sons here, sometimes they'd occasionally come back to the UK. One of the times granddad came back to the UK and had a baby with another woman. Granddad. So now my dad and my uncle have now got a younger sibling in the UK outside of their parents' marriage.
So, do you know how long granddad was away from grandma?
What, at the time that he got someone pregnant?
Yeah, what was it, a matter of weeks, months?
Probably a matter of weeks, but he came over, so he had a relationship with whatever woman he was dealing with.
Already anyway? Jesus.
Yeah, so now he's had a baby with this woman, gone back to America. My dad and my uncle now check for their younger sibling. So they go to the younger sibling's house and they're cool with the mum, and the younger sibling has older siblings. This one.
From a different dad, obviously.
Yeah, from a different dad, obviously. Yeah. This one. My dad's now linked up with the big sister. This is before me. Before my mum. This is before all of that. This is when they was younger.
Wait a minute. Is linked up with the older sister of who?
His younger sibling. So when my dad and my uncle are going to check their little brother that granddad's had and left in England, they're going to visit him to make a relationship with their little brother.
Yes.
That little brother has older siblings.
Yes.
And now my dad's now linking the older sister. Do you get it?
Now, you got to explain linking to me.
Okay, sorry.
What does linking
Having
mean?
a sexual relationship.
Jesus.
With the older sister.
With your step-sister, pretty much. Half sister.
No, it's step. It is step. No, it's no relation.
Okay, well,
there's no relation. There's no link with that.
Well,
it's your half sibling's big sister. That's what it is. There's no relation to you.
Jesus. Okay. Yeah.
So now, my dad's having sexual relations with his younger sibling's big sister. Baby. Yeah? Baby.
I really should have brought out A whiteboard.
I told you I needed a pen and paper to explain how this mad thing goes, right? So my oldest brother,
Yes.
yeah, has an uncle,
Yes.
from his mum and his dad.
Mm-hmm.
That's the little boy that my granddad had in England. He's his uncle from his mum and he's his uncle from his dad. That's my older brother.
Okay.
Mad. I didn't even know this uncle existed until the other day, right? That's a whole nother story, but that's what my dad created. Older brother. Now he stayed with that woman and had another son. Cheated on her and had another son. So that's 3 sons my dad's got in this little mix-up. Then now he's met my mum.
Yeah.
Liked my mum. Had a baby with my mum.
Which is
me.
You, yes.
Married my mum. Created a family life. I put in brackets because on the outside, everybody has always looked at me like, oh, you grew up with a mum and dad. Oh, you had it really nice. Oh, you had this, the silver spoon in your mouth. Or that's what my siblings see. Or that's what a lot of people point fingers and think that. So my mum worked hard to try and create
when
that
you say
environment.
people, who are you referring to?
Siblings.
Okay, siblings.
Siblings,
okay,
to be fair. And people that don't know, when they look at when I was growing up, people that used to look at my mum and my dad and me, they used to think that we had the little perfect setup. Like my dad was he used to run a barber's, used to have a cab office, he used to be the shotter. My mum was always doing business and work and like, you know, the formal one. They thought that and then they had the little girl, they thought it was a nice little setup on the outside. But like I said, this is what's going on the inside now.
So was your dad well-to-do? Because you just mentioned a lot of things that he had his hands in.
He had fingers in a lot of pies.
So financially he was solid. Financially
he was solid from what I knew about. As an adult now and speaking to mum and having reflections, my dad was doing a lot of stuff. He involved my mum in a lot of stuff because she had brains. So a lot of the stuff went right. He also tried to keep secrets from my mum, business secrets from my mum, didn't have any help and ended up losing a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So he would run to my mum at the last minute. I got a house being repossessed here. I got a house being repossessed there. My mum was like, what house? What are you talking about? Yeah, so my dad ain't got nothing now. Yeah. But that's how it used to go back in the day. People used to come and knock our door and get haircuts. My dad was the local barber. He, like I said, the things that he owned and was running around that, and my mum was helping. But anyway, keeping it all together. It looked rosy. My brothers and sisters would come down to my house and visit. So he had that sort of little family house. So they'd come over sometimes and they'd see me, the environment. So all my siblings know me, but they don't necessarily know each other.
How do we get here?
How did we get here? This is when you don't looking after your seed. You don't look after your seed properly. So my mum, she's the one that encouraged the siblings to come round. Yeah. My dad was just my dad. My mum tried to keep it together. And my uncle at the time as well, he married a woman and she was similar, even though he didn't have the same situation as my dad. So between my mum and my uncle's wife, they created the family environment in the UK because the grandparents weren't even here. Do you know what I mean? So they married good women and they had a nice little setup as we was growing up, because I got younger cousins that don't even know that we had a little family thing because they came later down the line. But anyway, in the home now, I say that I grew up with a single mum because basically my mum worked her arse off and my dad didn't do anything. Like I said, looking on the outside, everybody thought it was all rosy. Yeah, my dad did whatever he wanted to. We had pure women knocking off our door, ringing off our phone. There was times where I was told, don't answer the phone because it'll be women trying to shout abuse at my mum because my dad is a gallus. Yeah, so even though he's married now, even though everybody knows he's got the big sons, that same woman that he's got the big sons with has got a vendetta against my mum.
Yeah.
Because she take away her man.
Of course, yeah.
So I've gone, but it's not even take away her man. My mum didn't even know she existed. It's because my dad's a gallus player. Whichever word you want to use, creating all these situations, ruining lives, because these women are also young in the same situation. So they've got young women, young man playing around, making babies, women are falling in love, then they're scorned, then they're bitter, then they're making fights with other women.
So when all of these phone calls are coming in and sometimes mum is saying, don't pick up the phone, do you remember how old you were?
About 6.
About 6. at that point, could you make out what was going on, or that was too early?
I kind of knew that my dad had women phoning in the house.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why they was phoning.
Mm-hmm.
Because from the ages from when I was born till about 7, 8, I was a daddy's girl. I'd go everywhere with my dad. My dad would take me everywhere. I was his little companion, his little buddy. Do you know what I mean? He doted on me. He always wanted a girl child, and I'm the first girl. Do you know what I mean?
So at this point, your relationship with your dad is great.
It's great.
You know, personally, in your eyes, it's great.
Yeah, because I'm a kid.
Yeah.
I'm not a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but as I started to grow now, I'm remembering, not even remembering, all these things are going down when I'm young. Women knocking off the door, ringing off my house. I remember my mum, because my dad used to take me everywhere. He used to take me to his women's house too.
What do you mean?
Yeah, like he used to treat me like I was probably one of his sons or something. So he would take me to his women's yard that he's married to my mum. Yeah, taking the girl child to your girlfriend's house.
So by this age, kids call other women aunties and uncles.
It wasn't auntie and uncle, nothing. I knew what was going on, and I'd go home and tell my mum.
How did you know that that's what was going on? Did you see anything? Did you see?
I didn't see anything
intimate?
sexual, intimate like that. But the way the women were very, very nice to me. And then when my mum would say, "Where have you been?" and I'll be like, "I was at Julia's house," and my mum would be like, "Do you remember where Julia lives?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, she lives in such and such an area." And she goes, "If we drove there, would you remember?"
Well, before we even go too far on that, because I want to touch on that in a sec, I just want to ask you a question. Look, if I'm a 5-6-year-old kid and some adult is being nice to me, I don't think the first thing I'm going to think is that this is a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I would just think uncle is really pleasant.
It was when I go back to my mum, to when she'd ask me where I went, my mum's reaction.
So you're reading it off your mum's
reading
reaction?
Reading off my mum's reaction. Because
did she ever ask you to actually go with her to
Yeah. We used I just remember one time we came back, she's like, "Where did you go?" We went to such and such a lady's house. My mum already knew who the name was. She's like, "Do you remember where it was?" Kind of. "Would you remember if we drove there?" Yeah, I think so. Got in the car, rolled, drove down there. I put my mum out, put it in the house. There you go.
And what would your mum do?
I don't know what she did with that one. But there was another situation where she packed me in the car. She drove to a different house and she parked outside. She goes, "You see your dad's car there?" I was like, "Yeah." And then she started ringing. This is when we had the first phones, the brick phones coming out. And then she's ringing off the phone. He ain't answering the phone. He answered the phone like, "Where are you? Where are you?" And he's like, "I'm down in a blah, blah, blah. I'm down in a bricks done." She goes, "Well, so why is your car in on a road, huh? Why is your car?" And then the big guy, "Come outside." She's blowing the horn. I'm outside. Your daughter's in the car. Come and..."
And would your dad come out?
No.
Wow.
No. But there's so much stories I could say that was going on. So now I'm growing into a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Certain stories are making sense differently now. I'm losing a lot of respect for my dad.
Yeah.
I'm not a daddy's girl anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, now my mum and dad are going through a divorce. Mum and dad are going through a divorce because my dad's trying to call her bluff. I can't remember what arguments they was going through.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. I mean, it's obvious infidelity was an issue. And if you're human, you can only take so much of it, right? It happens once, you might forgive someone, say it's a mistake.
Yeah, but that wasn't even the reason.
You know. Oh, that wasn't the reason?
That wasn't the reason. My mum's had conversations with me now as an adult. That wasn't even the reason for their divorce.
So what was the reason for the divorce?
It was a call my bluff joke. It was some argument. He's like, "Why don't you divorce me?" And she's like, "Divorce me then, innit? Divorce me." Papers were drawn up as like, and then signs just for no, Because my dad came to when my mum and dad got divorced, this is what my friends at school did not understand. My mum and dad got divorced when I was about 12. That's secondary school. My dad used to still come to my house. Be eating dinner every night or every other night. Come around Sundays when my friends would come to my house. My dad's there. It's like, "I thought your mum and dad's divorced."
Yeah.
I mean, they are. Because they got their own relationship going on outside of me. As I've grown up, I've come to understand the relationship between my mum and dad. It was something different than the other women that he had that continued after they got divorced for a very long time until my mum got rid of the grip that he had over her.
What grip did he have over your mum?
I don't know. He met her when she was young. He's not a lot older than her, but she was young. She come from a different background. My dad come from raised himself, roadman, survival. My mum had her own issues growing up with her mum and dad, but over here. But my mum was also born here, and my dad wasn't. So my mum's first generation British born from the Caribbean, and my dad was born in Jamaica and came over here. So 2 different cultures. He got her from when she was young. I can only assume what was going through her head from being a woman myself.
I see.
But until like even after the divorce, like my mum never had no boyfriend. She never had no man around because my dad was around. He still had that grip. Now I've gone through my own situations in life and I can now understand it. Yeah, but
you see, now this is a very personal question, and I don't know if you'd have the answer. I wouldn't expect you to have the answer. Mm-hmm. After they divorced, because he had this grip, etc., do you think they still made love to each other?
Probably.
It's interesting because no child came out of that.
Because my mum, she was sick. She had blood clots in her lungs. She had twice. So from that, she decided to get her tubes tied because they told her if she got pregnant or anything. She wasn't trying to have a baby, but because situations and complications happened, she was ruling it out. So she got sterilized when it tubes, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So yeah, no babies. But she didn't want any anyway, so she said, I don't know.
Do you think it's a question you'd want to ask her at some point?
Well, if she wanted more kids. I know that she had a baby die before me. Yeah. It was a stillborn. And there's another child that was born. My dad had got somebody else pregnant and they were born the same year as me. And when my mum found out, she said that she would, because the mum of that child put them up for adoption. Yeah. But when my mum found out, she said she would adopt that baby. Yeah. And then I would have grown up with a sibling. Yeah. But the adoption happened. And she didn't end up taking the baby, and I grew up alone. But that shows she might have wanted more kids. Yeah. I don't know.
So your dad is still, floating around the family. Did you feel differently about him at this point? Did you dislike him? Because remember, you just told me that you were pretty much daddy's girl. He would take you everywhere. You had a great relationship with your dad. When did you start feeling your relationship changing with your dad?
Puberty. I started growing up. Growing up into a woman. Understanding man and woman relationships differently, and then looking back at my dad and like was my representation, and I didn't understand that was my representation at the time, but it was. So like I said, it's a reflection. Like I would say I had daddy issues for a little part. Everybody's got daddy issues, but it's not like wanting a dad. It's subconsciously modeling men that I might meet on the character of my dad, and it's a little while that it took me to realize that's what I was doing. Yeah, like my daughter's dad is very much like, he's very much like my dad. But not in the sense he's got different women and all these children all over the place, but the mentality and the psychology of the way that he is as a person, the controlling nature.
What attracted you to him then?
Who?
Your daughter's dad.
Oh, God. I was in a traumatic space at that time in my life. My cousin had just died. And I wasn't really in my right thinking space. And he was a friend of a friend who my friend brought them round and he saw a victim. Yeah, this is what the kind of person he is. Because now I know him. Before me, he finds vulnerable victim. After me, he finds vulnerable victim. He preys on certain kinds of women. He mostly preys on single women with children. I was the first one that never had children. But I was in a different headspace.
And he clocked that you're in a different headspace and is like, I'm going to go for this.
And he also noticed that I don't have a dad. Yeah. And I don't have brothers. But in reality, I got 5 brothers. And I got a dad that I grew up with. Yeah.
So how did he not notice your dad in particular? The brothers I can get.
The dad, because I lived on my own. At this point, I lived on my own and people that's around me see who come to check for me.
How old were you?
23.
Okay, so you started living on your own from the age of 23.
No, I moved out at 18.
You moved out at 18?
Yeah, as an only child.
Why did you do that?
Looking back at reflection, my mum's OCD. Yeah, and she's very, I don't know the right word to describe it, just on it. It was very difficult living with her, becoming my own person, because I'm not OCD. I'm very relaxed. I'm like chill.
You just go with the flow.
I've always just been like how I am, innit?
And she wanted things with structure and order, and you couldn't.
I couldn't work with her structure and order, and it was clashing. And she gave me an ultimatum, and I've never been at that time. I've discovered I'm not. Don't put me in no corner because I'm going to choose the opposite way. So she said, either abide by my rules or get out. I said, all right, I'll go then, innit?
What did your dad have to say about that?
Nothing. Now this is the time when my dad should have now stepped up.
Yeah.
If you've just messed up all these other years, this is the time now he should have stepped up. Now I've moved out, living on my own. That's a whole nother story. Yeah.
So did he know where you lived?
Yeah, I think my mum told him. Because my mum would keep him updated. I wouldn't, because our relationship had deteriorated through my teens. Yeah.
So I think that's a piece of the puzzle I'm missing. That deterioration. So remember, at the back of my mind, from what you've told me so far, you were daddy's girl.
I was daddy's girl. Then, like I said, puberty. When I started growing into a woman, my teens and stuff like that, my mum and dad's relationship, he'd always be at the house. He's always there. But he didn't come to check me. Me and him didn't have no relationship. We didn't have no bond like that. He was there, though. So I'm saying, when people looking on the outside, they always assume certain things. But him and my mum's relationship, that could write probably a book by itself. Yeah, but it wasn't about me. I was just a product of it. But the story wasn't about the child.
So did you start despising him for that? Lack of attention?
No. Well, maybe, no. I wouldn't say despise, but our relationship just drifted. It's like, all my friends are single parent households. Me not having a dad around didn't really make a big difference, because even when my mum and dad was married, he wasn't really around. He was a roadman. He'd be always at the dance or wherever it is as a Jamaican fellow, as they do every night. So I didn't feel that I missed out on anything. But my mum was trying to enforce the relationship with my dad. She'd be trying to send me to his house every week. And I'm like, for what? Like, I'm not, the relationship's already dead. So by the time I moved out, no, he didn't come check for me or look for me or try and step up to have some sort of protection or anything.
So this deterioration is really from him being present but absent.
Yes.
At the same time, as in physically you would see him, but emotionally you wouldn't feel him.
No, not at all.
And that created that separate...
I think so. And I think that's not spoken
separation
about.
Yeah, separation and disconnect between you and your dad. So it wasn't really unusual for you when you left and he wasn't checking in on you, because he never really checked in on you anyway.
Exactly.
I'm surprised you didn't start kind of despising him.
I didn't. I tell you why I started despising him. When I moved out my mum's house, I ended up in shared housing, one accommodation, like a hostel.
Yeah.
Right. And these times now, like, I forgot there's another brother. He went to Jamaica
Lord
when
of mercy.
my great grandma died in Jamaica.
Yeah.
He went over for the funeral in the 90s, or was it the 80s? I can't remember. No, it must have been the 80s, and had a baby. So when in Jamaica, but when my little brother now turned 9, he brought him over to England. This is after my mum and dad got divorced. He brought my little brother to England, but still asked my mum to look after my little brother because my mum volunteered to take the one that was sent out for adoption. He thought, 12 years later, she's still going to take on my next youth. But my mum said, no. How are you going to bring this boy to England and just try and bring him to me? So then he put him with another woman.
Jesus.
Yeah, but anyway, so now that's put there. When I'm living in my hostel now, I'm making me and my little brother, we're making a little bond. Yeah. Because he did see me the most out of all the siblings.
So where did he live? He lived with your dad then?
He lived with my dad, but let's just say he lived with my dad's women, multiple.
Jeez.
Yeah. So now I'm in my hostel. I've called my brother, like, come and stay with me for a little bit. Yeah. And he's much younger than me at this time, probably in his teens. So my dad's brought him down to come and stay with me in my hostel. When my brother's come, I was like, did dad give you any money? Because he didn't give me no money. Brother's like, no, he didn't give me nothing either. So I was like, okay, so what money you got in your pocket?
Yeah.
He said, I got £15. I said, you need to use that for the weekend because I don't have no money. I thought dad was like, I was about 18 at the time. This is in my hostel. No, I was about 19, living in my hostel. Just wanted my little brother to come check. I thought dad was at least mature enough to, give them some money or something. No, he didn't do nothing. So from then I started despising him. From the next day when he come to pick my brother up, he told my brother to walk down the road and meet him at the theatre, which was in Catford. Meet him at Catford Theatre. So my brother didn't know where it was. So I walked my brother down to the theatre to meet him. I thought they were just going to pick him up. Now, my dad bought tickets for my brother one of his women and himself to go and see some shirt in the theatre, but didn't buy me a ticket.
Oh.
I was like, what?
So you just pretty much just had to go back.
Yeah, so I phoned my mum and told my mum, and we had a little cuss out about it. Like, why am I doing this? I was like, for them, like, it's not checking for me how he should be checking for me. And certain other little things, it's just like, nah, it's not. This is not what I'm expecting from a dad.
Well, but I got a question for you. You've just told me that as a teenager, the relationship deteriorated. You got used to him being present but not available. So this is no surprise. Why did you have the expectation then for him to do something when by now you know he doesn't do anything anyway?
Because I'm still young. And two, now I've moved into a hostel, into a different environment. And this is where now things changed in the sense of, well, now I said I changed my family surname. Because like I said, I got 5 brothers. I got 4 older brothers, right? They all got the same name. Like all these children that my dad had, all the women gave them my dad's name. They all gave the kids the name, yeah? A few of my brothers are in gangs. Yeah. And I don't know gang life. I've grown up with my mum and my dad in my toxic environment, but it's different toxic environment than what most know. Now my brothers now are growing up with no dad in those times, on road, gangs, they're doing their thing.
So when we're saying gangs, we are talking gangs in the real sense of the gang.
Yeah.
Not just to say, oh, these are cool kids. Yeah, they're pretending to be in a
gangs.
Gangs.
Violent.
All of them?
No, but they made enough name for themselves that it didn't need to be all of them, because now all of us carry the tarnish of the name. Yeah. So I didn't come from an environment with gangs or anything like that. I had a sheltered upbringing. My mum tried the best to keep me off road, but now I've found road. Now I'm in my hostel. So I'm in my hostel now. A letter's come through the door with my name on it, my surname. Now I'm in a hostel. Like, I didn't know about hostel environment. There's a lot of, what's the word? Got a lot of roadman in hostels. You got a lot of drug addicts in hostels. You got a lot of people with young people with issues in hostels. Yeah. So a letter's come through the door. Someone goes to me, I know that name. Do you know someone called such and such, which is my brother's roadman name? And I didn't know the name because I don't know my brother like that.
So you're like, no,
I don't know that. And then they said his name. I was like, oh yeah, that's my brother. And they was like, what? And they was all talking and saying, such and such has got a sister. Did you know they got a sister? Because nobody knew that I existed. Yeah. Yeah. So now they're all like gang affiliated, realizing that these particular people have a little sister and she's here in this hostel. Yeah. So when I'm saying that my dad, and also including my brothers, they didn't come and check for me. So when these people are talking to me in the hostel, and I don't know anything about gang life, road life, nothing like that. They're all talking to me in the hostel, trying to gauge certain things out of me, I'm assuming now looking back. Yeah. And a couple times I've tried to reach out to my brothers, like, come and check me. This is where I live. Here's my address. And in text, like, I'm on my own. I've tried to reach out to all my siblings because I'm an only child.
Of course. And you're young and impressionable. And all you're just trying to do is connect with your family because that's kind of what you've known.
Yeah. Yeah. No one didn't want to come check me. Yeah. And like I said, when people's around me, they see who checked for me. There's no dad. There's no brothers. When it comes to men now I'm a woman. Yeah, I'm a young woman. I'm now just thrown into the
lion's den.
The lion's den. Yeah, I ain't got no one checking for me. They see no one ain't checking for me. I'm in a hospital. No one ain't checking for me. They know who I'm affiliated with. I don't even know who I'm affiliated with. But they know who I'm affiliated with. That same uncle I was talking about that I had that come to the UK, he ended up being a probation officer. So they even know my uncle. All these gang member roadmen, because they've been through the system. Yeah. A lot of them, they know my dad because they know these roadman's dad. Yeah, that's how it works out here. People know who's affiliated. So everybody knows my family, but I don't know who they are. And they've now discovered that there's me. So now I'm a victim. Well, I'm a sitting duck. But I didn't know I'm a sitting duck.
Literally a sitting duck.
Right. I didn't know I'm a sitting duck in that situation. So when I'm looking back and saying, yeah, my dad didn't check for me, this is where the times when he should have. Yeah, no. Because now, whether I was in a hostel or not, I'm out from my mum's home. Yeah. Yeah. They're men. They know what's going on out here in the world. None of them didn't step up.
I get you now.
Yeah, but now, like, as an adult, and I've had relationships with my brothers and spoken, they all hold resentment. They hold resentment against me because I'm the one that grew up with a dad.
Jeez.
But they don't understand that I grew up with a shit dad.
Yeah.
A toxic dad.
Yeah.
So they didn't check for me on purpose, I'm seeing. Certain things would happen where I'm a target for certain things. Like my house was robbed. Yeah. It's got to a level, my house got robbed because of my brothers.
And this is after you've left the hostel?
This is after I've left the hostel.
So in the hostel, did you have any of that gang-related trouble?
There was gang-related trouble, but everywhere I went with the name, I went to work for an independent record label somewhere. And because I started getting into music and stuff, I went and started working in there. They see my name. They knew my brothers too. Yeah, one person had a vendetta against my brothers for whatever they did to him back in the day. And he made a long-term plan with me and ended up robbing my house years later.
Aye.
Right. Told my brothers. They went and found out what happened. Didn't do nothing. In the hostel, I got into a fight with somebody that was like good friends with my brother. The brother he stamped in my head.
He almost stabbed you in your head?
Stamped. He
stamped, okay.
Not almost, he did. Yeah, these are the kind of people that I'm meeting. These gang members, they're crackheads, they're on all sorts of drugs, they're crazy people in the area that I live. And just like, that's just how it's been.
Jeez, man.
But back to father. Yeah, father wasn't looking out for me in my hostel. Neither was my brothers. I've moved into my house now. I kind of don't reach out as much. But every now and then we keep up appearances, certain family gatherings and stuff. And then I've met the baby father, when my cousin died. And I was upset about my cousin part because he was the only male figure I had. Because my cousin was affiliated with gangs. He's not in gangs. He was affiliated. So everybody knew him. And he ended up coming to the hospital and was like, Rah, why are you here? I was like, telling him, like, because like, he knows me, innit?
He didn't die because of the gangs, did he?
Nah, it was a random bullet from somebody in a gang, but it wasn't for him.
Random bullet.
It's tragic, Tens. It's tragic.
I'm surprised you actually laugh and see the funny side of it. This is really serious for me.
It is serious. There was a shooting in Norwich. There was a rave in Norwich that everybody from London went up to. And he went and
he caught a stray bullet.
Caught a stray bullet in his heart.
Wow.
Right. And then he's gone.
So I'm gonna move it forward a notch. You get with baby daddy. You have your daughter. What's your dad's involvement in any of this?
Absolutely nothing. At this time, we're not talking. Forgot that part. There's so much tender.
And why aren't you talking to him at this point?
When I got my flat, after I was in my hostel, I got offered a flat after 3 years. And these times, me and my dad hardly talk. Now, my mum, she hired a removal van, because I had some furniture at my grandma's house to move into my house. She hired a removal van and she hired my dad, not hired my dad, she put my dad's name down as the driver for the van. I was like, why did you do that? I got friends with licenses, you know?
Yeah.
She goes, but he's your father. She was all on that. He's your father. He has to do this. Anyway, come to my house. I lived on a red route. Yeah? He come to the house and parked the van. I lived on the top floor of this hostel. He wouldn't come and help me move the boxes from the top floor down. Yeah?
Because he's on a red route and says if he leaves the car, he's going to get a ticket.
Yeah, so he just stood there and watched me carrying these boxes up and down like 4 flights of stairs on my own, trying to move my little hostel to my house. And he was just chatting under his breath every time I went past. Hey, fucking what? Last girl full of shit. Fucking idiot. Can't even do it. He just chatted the whole day and I just...
But why would he be saying that?
Because he's just a horrible person. Like, there's so much things I could say, but it would just make it go on and on and on and on and on. But this is his character, innit? Because he didn't want to do it. My mum made him do it. He didn't want to come and help me. That was what it was. And he was upset that I didn't have anybody else to help me. So he had to do it on his own. And he wasn't even doing it. He was watching me do it. But he was still cussing whilst I was doing it.
Mad.
So I kept my mouth shut. I'd grown at least that part evolved in my life. Don't have to cuss about everything. So I kept my mouth shut. I was just moving the stuff. And And then we got in the car, went to my grandma's house and picked up the sofa. And that's where it was the next problem because there's nobody to help with the sofa. Yeah, so we've gone to my first house, the first yard I was living in.
Yeah.
Got to take it all the stuff to the top floor. And then we went to go and get the sofa. And I can't lift the sofa. And he's cussing because he can't lift the sofa on his own. He's cussing to me, you can't even bring nobody to come and do this and that and that. I said, so you couldn't bring nobody. You knew you was coming to move me.
Yeah.
Yeah? Why didn't you bring a friend, Dad? Yeah? He's like, no, just chatting. And then this time I had a friend that was by my grandma's house and she walked past and then she's like, oh yeah, you're moving today, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then she started to help a little bit. And then he had the van, which had the 3 seats at the front, right?
Yeah.
So now my friend and me and my dad managed to load the sofa into the van.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my dad and my friend are sitting in the front of the van. My dad's driving, I'm in the middle, my friend's on the side by the window. He's now cussing again, fucking what? Let's can't do this, you're full of shit. Talking is talk, yeah. And I've now got to boiling point. I said, yeah. I said, you know why? I said, anything you see me do that is whatless is because I sit down and I watch you. Yeah.
Mad.
I said, anything you see me do that's great in life is because you see me watch my mother. Yeah. I said, you're full of shit. All your kids don't like you. All your kids think you're full of shit. It's like, what? And he thumped me in my face. He's like, what? Bang. I was like, what? And I went, bang. So me and my dad.
And is this in the moving van?
This is the moving van. My
wow.
friend's on the side, like, oh my God. Me and my dad's rocking. Yeah. We're fighting in the car.
I shouldn't be laughing, but you can only laugh about this.
No, I was just like, it was just reaction. Like, he thumped me hard. I just reacted back. And now we're scuffing in the front of the van. My friend's like, oh my God, what we going to do? And then like he pulled over to the side, he pulled out his phone and my mum, take your fucking daughter this, your fucking daughter that, blah. I said, I'm not your daughter no more, nah. I'm not your daughter no more. Anyway, yeah, I started reciting some truths.
Yeah.
He hated that. And then, what did I say? I can't remember what happened. Anyway, he took the stuff back to my granny's house and we didn't speak since. Now, fast forward to baby father times, like he weren't even around. We don't speak.
It makes sense now, yeah.
Fast forward a little bit more now. I'm having a baby. We still don't speak. But my mum told him.
Yeesh.
Yeah.
That you got a granddaughter now.
That I'm having a baby. Now, yeah, grandkids. Remember he got, holy
yeah, no. I mean, another one. You know,
he's
from
having
your daughter,
a grandchild from
yeah.
the child that you actually tried to pretend to raise. That's what it was now.
Wow.
So now I've reached a different growing point in life. And I can't remember what environment we was in, but I've acknowledged him. Yeah, I was like, hi.
Right.
And then we started a slow conversation.
Yeah.
I know him as a person. He's never going to discuss what happened in that van.
Of course, yeah.
We're never going to revisit that.
No.
Or what was said.
But for you, is that a traumatic point?
What, the van?
Yeah, the van thing, because you mentioning...
It's the thing, you see me, I've done certain growing things in life and, growth and development. I don't like to hide things or not talk about things or discuss them. And that's what is a grating point with me and my family. So I know, so my mum and my dad ain't going to talk about certain things that I feel that you need to. So they distance themselves. Like, he ain't talking about it, but he knows he needs to. And I will easily bring it up. But I'm not, because I'm not trying to make a ripple right now.
So it is a pain point for you then?
I do think so, yeah. But I've now passed that point. This was like 14 years ago. I've now passed that point to I've just let all that go. It's never going to happen. That's the kind of people they are. That's the world that they've grown up, what they've learned, their experiences and stuff like that. Like, my mum and dad are never going to give me closure for whatever's gone on in my childhood. They don't want to acknowledge that. But I know a lot what's gone on in their childhood. Even like I said, it's not an excuse. I can understand to a certain degree, but I'm not going to be around in your environment and not talk about it. Yeah, because you're creating more issues. That creates a toxic environment. That creates generations now moving on, having the same issues because you don't want to discuss and get past it. So my dad is never going to discuss all these issues. So me and him, because he didn't want to discuss those issues, we hit bare bumps, lots of bumps in the road. Where out of all of his children, I think I'm the most I've done well. But my little sister, she's got married. In a sense, she would say that she's done well. But
what just because she got married, or well, so I'm just gonna move it to the point where you've changed your name. How recently did that happen?
2020.
Well, 2 years ago.
Yeah. Because, like I said, everywhere I go, like family surname, I move into that hostel, I meet certain people around in the environment. Even like my daughter went to school the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the woman on reception, because I signed in my old name, she clocked it. She's like, do you know such and such?
Oh my goodness.
Again, my big brother.
Oh my goodness.
And I was just like, yeah, it's my brother. She goes, oh. Then my daughter goes to school. And the woman's like, oh, you're so-and-so's niece. Ooh. Like little things like that. Everywhere I go, they know this name. And it's not in a positive light. As soon as I've dropped that name, so much positive things have happened for me.
You know, I've heard the saying that there's power in the name.
There's power in my name. There is so much power in my name. I've renamed myself something righteous as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, and...
Have you done the same for your daughter?
She's got a double-barrel surname. And it's double-barreled with my surname and her dad's. I said to her, do you want to double-barrel that bit to my bit? She's like, no. Okay. I gave her a choice.
Does your dad know that you've changed your last name?
I think my brother has told him. My little brother.
He hasn't communicated that to you?
Meaning, listen, there's a whole court case, remember?
There's a court case? With you and your dad?
Yes. The computer?
I mean, I know the computer story, but those listening don't know the computer story.
That's a whole nother hour, really.
Well, okay. We'll keep it brief. If I remember, your dad wants your laptop.
Well, what it was.
In a nutshell.
It's not even in a nutshell. Well, it is, but it isn't.
We'll leave that for another day because I know where this is gonna go. But what I really want to focus on for now is the fact that your name has changed, and since changing that, a lot of positive things have happened. Some that I'm witness to. Yeah. And I was in the kitchen a few seconds ago, and that picture that you have on the fridge that was on a billboard looks amazing.
Thank you.
And I know the story that has got you to that point. So from the time that I first met you, at some wedding, God knows how many years ago that was.
I know.
It was a long time ago. From that to where you are, there's a real change. And just bringing back your lesson, which we touched on right at the beginning, you said, if you're in a toxic family, it's okay for you to take yourself out.
And I took myself out.
You know, you made that conscious choice to say, I'm leaving this because you didn't want the burden of the name. You didn't want the burden of knowing what it makes you feel. Mm-hmm. And a lot of good stuff has started happening.
And you know, I feel that I'm destined for greatness. Something great is going to happen.
Amen.
And from this point, it's like whatever great happens to me, I don't want my family trying to hang on to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, but I do feel that I've got that kind of family. So you can't make that claim.
Yeah.
You can't make that claim. I've started fresh from here. I'm starting a new legacy from here. And that is why I did it. And since I did that, and since I did that consciously, everything has just been going wonderful.
Do you know, there's an acronym that a friend of mine once said, and it stuck with me, which is LIVE, L-I-V-E, which is living intentionally versus existing.
Right.
And that's precisely what you've done. You've been intentional about what you want. You've been intentional about changing your name, intentional about where you want to go, intentional about a fresh legacy.
Right.
And just as we wrap this up, for those listening to this episode of The Feeling Station, one key lesson came out, which is if you're in a toxic family, you can take yourself out. And I'm just going to add something to that, just based on the last few minutes we've spoken, that really if you want to do something, you're just serious about it, be intentional, and you'll have goodness and positivity coming your way. You've been listening to another episode of The Feeling Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and I will catch you in next weekend's episode. Peace. Check out, come on.